Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting, April 23rd, 2013. I'd like you all to join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag and remain standing after that, please.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody is aware of the horrific event that took place at the Boston Marathon, and I'd like everybody to bow their head in a moment of silence and prayer for the victims and their families of that tragedy. May God have mercy on their souls. And as Americans, they can send whatever they want at us, but they are not going to move us. They're not going to deter us from our lives. Everybody just stay strong and keep the victims and their families in your thoughts and prayers, please. Thank you. Okay, some housekeeping. There are openings on the following committees: Audit Committee, Business Development Commission, Carver Cultural Council, Carver Housing Authority, a state representative, Commission on Disability, Earth Removal Committee, a growers representative, Finance Committee, Local Housing Partnership Committee, Marcus Atwood Trustees, Old Colony Regional Vote Tech School Committee, there's 2 positions there. Recreation Committee, there are 2 positions. Town Building Study Committee, ZBA alternate. Please contact the Selectman's office for an application for any one of those positions. Also, a reminder that donations to the food pantry are still being accepted and still can be used, and they can be made at the Council on Aging or at the Carver Public Library. Thank you. All right. First up, approval for acceptance of FEMA Fire Department Fire Assistance Grant and vote to authorize expenditure of $5,798 from the matching grant fund warrant article. And I assume this is from the fire department, and the chief, you want to come up and speak on that? And the deputy, of course.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, over there.
Whatever you feel like.
Thank you. Just a little brief history to explain why we're here tonight. About 4 years ago, we recognized as a department that we needed to replace our existing fire hoses, nozzles, and adapters that were approaching 20 years of age and just getting worn out and starting to become a safety issue. As we normally do, we try to find creative ways of funding programs like this that tend to be a large expense. So we tried the grant route, and rather than ask the residents to burden these costs. We applied in 2010. We weren't successful. We had applied in 2011 through the FEMA, through a fire assistance grant program, and both times unsuccessful. Being unsuccessful twice, this year I had no choice but to submit a warrant article through capital outlay for $50,000 to replace a partial order of the fire hose this year and another $50,000 for next year. At that same time, I asked Deputy Germain and town resident Irene Winkler to try a 3rd time for a fire assistance grant program. We figured we'd give it one last try, having time before town meeting and all the warrant articles were completed. Through their hard work, and it is their hard work, we were notified on April 4th by our Congress representatives that we were awarded a fire assistance grant for $115,968. This total includes $110,000 roughly from the federal government, and it requires a 5% match of $5,798 from the town of Carver. I am asking the Board of Selectmen to officially accept the grant and to commit the matching funds needed so we may notify FEMA within the 30-day requirement period, which is approaching, and trying to schedule that with Selectmen's meetings. It should be noted that the matching funds have already been identified and were allocated in the town budget under the matching grant fund line item, prior to us even applying in 2010, 11, and now. There's a little over $8,000 in that line item, with us needing about $5,700 for the 5% match. I strongly urge that this matching grant fund be replenished in the near future. This is a fund that at one time I believe had about maybe $40,000 in it. And we have particularly used this line item for the fire department over the last 9 years for matching items, and as many other departments have too. And with this withdrawal, hopeful approval, withdrawal of 5,700, it'll only leave about $3,000 in that fund, which obviously limits us for next year applying for grants, and makes us have to go to a different avenue, whether it's a reserve fund or town meeting or something. But the issue is, normally we have to notify FEMA or whoever we are successful from getting a grant from within a time limit. And you're very restrictive, so we need to move quick when we get notification. So I'm just advocating tonight that at some reasonable level, that fund be replenished, whether it be at town meeting with any free cash that's left or whatever, but, because it is very important. It's been very successful to us. I cannot stress how proud I am of Deputy Eric Germain and town resident Irene Winkler for the job very well done. With the acceptance of this grant, we will be able to withdraw $100,000 of warrant articles over the next 2 years and free up that money for other projects in town. I'm equally as proud of how relentless the Carver Fire Department has been in finding creative ways to fund our equipment without having to burden our taxpayers in these tough times. With our creative grant writing, to date, we have just achieved $900,000 in grant revenues. This has been accomplished by receiving 37 separate grants and awards totaling from $250 all the way from $170,000. All these grant application has been written in-house with some help from Irene Winkler. So again, I just want to praise the efforts of Deputy Eric Germain, and I would like to ask the board if they would be willing to accept the grant, and so we can move forward with some
I make a
purchases.
motion, we approve the acceptance of $110,170 from the federal share and the match our share of 5%, $5,798 to be taken from that account.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Ron, I'd just like to congratulate the fire department and thank you for your hard work.
Aye.
Job well done.
I too. I congratulate you and thank you. That's a huge sum over that period of time. So thank you, thank you.
Anything else? Hearing nothing else. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 7:10, next up is a hearing by Galen Sullivan, DBA Sully's Cartoons, for a Class 2 license. How you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. If you could identify yourself for the people out there in the audience.
My name is Galen Sullivan. I own Sully's Cartoons,
And you live where, Galen?
16 Edgewood Road.
Want to tell us a little bit about your proposal here?
I'm trying to get a Class 2 internet license so that I can buy and sell used vehicles. At this time, I'm going to have to do it out of my home. We're looking at just a no display license. We're not going to display any of the cars at the house. They're not going to be outside. I have a two-car garage, so they'll be stored indoors. Yeah, we'll display them on Craigslist, eBay, what have you, to try to move them.
All right, Mr. LaFond, any input on this?
Well, yeah, the only thing I point out that Elaine has brought to my attention that they're still attempting or in the process of obtaining the necessary bond under state law. So if the board should approve it, we would obviously hold the license until such time that that commitment is met.
Do we have a motion by the board?
Motion to approve, subject to the receipt of the bond.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second, okay.
I'll third.
Further discussion? Questions, comments, recommendations?
Business, yeah, you. what
I
about-
guess just subject to no display,
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
you said, yep.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
There's, we were notified by certified mail that the abutters could come to this meeting.
Okay, yeah, it's a public hearing, yes.
Okay, so
Do you have something you want to add to?
we're neighbors, and we just want to say that it's a residential area.
Why don't you come on up here to the microphone, please, and identify yourself and... If you could speak into the mic so the viewers at home can hear you. And
Sure. My name is Lydia Nelson, and we're
Good evening,
neighbors.
Lydia.
Hi. So we were notified about the meeting, so that's why we came. On Mr. Sullivan's certified mail, it said Sully's Cartoons with his home address. Far as we know, there's no business operating out of a residential home, out of a home. If it's strictly internet, we have nothing against that. But if it becomes a business and then the zoning changes and all of that kind of stuff that goes along with it,
Right.
we just want to express our
I
concerns.
think that that's what my colleagues and Mr. LaFawn just addressed on the board, that there's not going to be any display.
Okay.
And it's subject to certain restrictions. And am I correct on that, Rick?
And then if that's the case, there would be some follow-up and make sure, right? I don't
Well, I'm
wanna
sure you'll
have-
let us know if that's not the case.
No,
Yeah.
no, because that's his life. I mean,
Yeah.
we wouldn't want to, we're neighbors, we wouldn't want to
Well, I-
hurt him. But the issue is, you know, I remember probably 20 years ago, one of our neighbors was doing car repair
Mm-hmm.
across the street,
Right.
and it went into the groundwater. So I just want to say that it's a residential area.
You
and-
have some very valid concerns. That's
Okay.
a very close,
I mean,
tight-knit.
internet only, who cares? Good luck to you, but, you know, I mean, really, you know? But if you're gonna have the cars and stuff, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
If he were looking for changes, he would have to come back here. Okay, so,
Okay, because
Yep.
it says, on the certified letter, it says the internet only.
Yep.
It didn't say anything about the storage of the vehicles or anything like that, so.
Right. It sounds like he wants to be very respectful of his neighbors, the way he's setting it
Okay,
up and everything.
but if there's a business there now, we didn't know about
If-
it, so, just so that you know what I'm saying?
If there's any deviation from that, please don't hesitate to let us know, okay?
Well, no, that's his right.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Come on, you need to come up to the microphone. We try to get every citizen in town their 15 minutes of fame in spite of themselves.
My name is Paul Nelson. I've lived at 14 Edgewood Road for 28 years, so that makes me a relative newcomer to the town. But I am not in favor of having Mr. Sullivan have a business next door to me where he will be working on cars. If these cars need to have anything done to them, I'm not in favor of having a car repair place next to my house. And I'm not in favor of having cars stored near my house, near my property. My well is near his property. I'm concerned about pollution that may come from working on cars. We all know that cars drip and things happen, and I don't need my well to be contaminated by his operation. So that's my main concern. The working of cars, what hours will he have to work on these cars, and the noise that comes from working on cars. It's a big concern to me.
I don't see anything in this notice that depicts any kind of car repair maintenance facility.
Well, I hope that
So
doesn't
this
happen.
is just supposedly for the storage in the garage, and customers will come view the cars, and that's it. Am I correct in?
Correct. I'm
Okay.
gonna use Mass Corp. It's one of the, I do expediter work. I don't work out of my home.
Right,
My company goes to dealerships and we install electronic, remote starters, video. That's the premise of the business. That's what my business does at this point in time right now. When we come across buying a vehicle, if this is all approved, they'll be stored in the house or in the garage. And if there's any needed repairs, I'm not gonna do them at home. They're gonna be done at Mass Corp, which is Route 44 in Raynham.
okay.
Right, and I would point out that we have a separate license, commercial vehicle, a commercial garage license in Carver, so if he were doing any repairs, he would need another, whole other license to be able to do that, and that changes this license
Application altogether,
entirely,
yeah.
Absolutely, so.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Expressing your concerns.
It says on the application you're gonna have the repairs done at Mastria Subaru?
Yes, sir, that's part of Mass Corp.
Yeah,
Okay. I know you were using a different name than I saw on the
Yeah, Mass
application.
Corp is I'm sorry, I'm talking loud. Mass Corp is Mastria Subaru, they have Mastria Nissan.
Okay.
They have a group of dealerships over there, so, be it a Subaru, Nissan, GM, they have a different dealership that would do either any of the repairs, but Mastria Subaru would be my primary repair facility.
So the storage will only be in your garage?
It'd be inside.
Okay.
Just a question of how many cars you have, how much storage space you have in your garage? one vehicle, two vehicles?
I have a two-car garage at this point right now.
So how many of your vehicles that you're selling will be stored in the garage?
I was under the impression at this point right now, I could only have a one-car license.
Yeah.
So, one.
Yeah, Elaine is actually just, the list that we have, the other licenses of, that are for internet sales are one-car licenses with no display. So that would be the customary approval. Thank you, Elaine.
I think that's good. That limits the exposure to everybody, all the neighbors. No repair, no maintenance on site, no public display. So hopefully everybody's rights are protected and,
You said two-car garage for now.
Well, at some point, if this grows, I would like to move out into a more of a public display where I could get an actual dealership at some point in time, but that's down the road, not,
Yeah.
Not
You're
at
not
my
talking about expanding your garage on that property.
oh, absolutely not. There's
Okay.
no room.
any other questions from the board? Anybody else from the audience? Seeing none, hearing none. All those in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
Are we still,
No, I would just want to clarify that the vote is for the one car with no display.
With no display, no repair, and no maintenance on site.
Right, okay.
And
That
one
was the
car.
motion.
That's what I just confirm
We
that.
just didn't add the one car.
Well, we
Okay.
do now.
We did now.
all right, once again, we'll try this. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Good luck to you guys. Let us know if there's any issues, any problems.
That's right.
All right, next up, we're beating the clock here a little bit. Appointment of Darlene Whittemore to the Board of Registers in the Town Clerk's Office. Is Darlene here? Okay, ladies?
Sure. My name is Darlene Whittemore, 42 Bunnies Road, Carver, Mass. And I'm applying for the Board of Registrars.
Okay.
Okay, reason being, we are going to have an opening in the near future, so we need to have someone,
Who's leaving us, Jane?
well, after the election,
Yeah.
the person that's on there now will be off of there, and she's on there now, so
Okay.
we have to have that position replaced.
Okay.
So that's what I'm looking
You
for.
can't tell us who it is?
Yeah, it's Lynn.
It's Lynn Dorn.
Well, I'm not gonna, politic,
You're not going to.
Not going to assume.
I'm not assuming anything.
Any questions by the board, Jack?
Is this typically how you fill it? You don't post that there's an opening or anything? You select
We
someone?
never have on the Board of Registrars. I don't know if, it's never been done that way, so I figured this is the
So
way it's always
typically-
been, just an appointing.
Typically, the town clerk selects someone and then
Yep,
presents
that's how
it
it's
to the
always
Board of
been.
Selectmen? Okay.
Yeah. It's, they don't work very much at all. They just come in if it's a recount, or maybe last day to register to vote. They might cover that, so there's really not much to this job.
It's the kind of
So it's
job
not
I want. You don't
perfect
have to
for
work
Darlene.
very
It's great.
much.
And money's not that great
Where's the
either.
money like?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments, questions, recommendations, concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Gene, question for you before you hurry
Sure.
up. Is there a dance recital at the high school Saturday?
Yes. No, sorry.
No, the recital is May
Third,
1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Okay.
third, fourth, and fifth.
It's not next Saturday, it's the following.
My wife is confusing me.
No, not at all.
There's not a bodybuilding contest either, is there?
Oh,
All right, Town Building Study Committee, update on evaluation of new and previous documents. We have the three amigos with us tonight.
Three of us.
Mr. Ryan, Mr. Pratt, Mr. Shores. And we're
Thank
still
you.
looking for a volunteer, another volunteer for the committee, right?
Yes. We're doing okay.
We have the utmost confidence in you, gentlemen.
Thank you. We met with you, Roger and I, about 2 weeks ago and said we wanted to come back and give you a report on where we were at and how things were going, et cetera. So just a couple quick things to go over that we've discussed in our past meetings. We got started, we've probably had about 5 meetings or so now. And things that are in the positive still that we consider are options for the town. Interest rates are still relatively low. We've seen that. That's a good thing for the, even though the economic climate is still not great, the interest rates remain low and may even be slightly lower than they were a couple of years ago. So that's an opportunity for us currently. The wraparound borrow concept that we had talked about a couple of years ago is still viable. It will remain viable till about 2017. However, I want to stress that the benefit continues to decrease each year. This year it's about $288,000, and then next year it would be $279,000, and it starts to come down and then drops off. So it's still a viable mechanism that we had identified a couple of years ago, and we should consider that as we move forward. And then on the positive note, 2 years ago, if you recall, we got the Capital Stabilization Fund off the ground, and as we talked back then, it seemed to be a really good mechanism for setting aside funds that could be used for capital building projects. And at the time, the main purpose of that fund, we were chartered as a committee to look at the elementary school building, the police, and the fire. So we were trying to come up with a comprehensive plan where we could, fund all of those. And so, kicking off the Capital Stabilization Fund, the main purpose was to use that as a mechanism for the police and the fire station at the time. Currently, there's about $180,000 in that fund. So the base contribution has gotten to $179,000. That means if we continue to support that base that we built, we would continue to put that $179,000 in this year. And then the new personal property, new growth, we should be looking at that this year also. Continue to consider that. That's probably going to be north of $200,000 approximately, so that would be great if the town could set that aside for the building projects. So again, that remains a viable mechanism. It was good that got put into place, and that's going to really help us moving forward. On the school building side, you've seen that you've seen that the school's been working hard on the statement of interest phase. So that's where they are with that now. So we're on I think you know how long that process is. We went through it before. So we're on that road towards a solution. And the town should look at all options. The committee feels that for a cost-effective solution that's going to meet the town's needs. And one of the things that we're going to need from the Board of Selectmen is to provide a recommendation as to what you think our level of participation should be in this process. Part of it before was helping identify funding and funding mechanisms, but we're kind of, a couple of years ago when we came into this, we were at the end of the process. And so we were kind of scrambling in the short time that was available to look at all the possibilities for funding the projects. But now we're at the beginning of the process and the assessment. And so one of the things we would like is a recommendation for what the scope of effort you think we should be putting into some of these projects, such as that. And then on the fire and police buildings, we did meet with the fire chief recently, and as you know, the need for a new facility continues to increase. Safety issues continue to get worse. The ability of that building to be able to provide a good service is harder every year. They're just out of space in the facilities, and they can't even fit the fire trucks in there anymore. That's part of the issue. So the original plan, I think it's still viable, was for the fire station project to move first before the police station. I mean, it probably doesn't matter, but that had been the plan of record at the time, and it still may be a viable thing to consider. So moving on to the next topic, thank you for sending out the request for the documents that we requested 2 weeks ago. Just a quick report on that. We've really only gotten 2 documents that have been helpful to us. The FY 2012 financial statements, which are in draft form and still being done. That was at least helpful for us to start to look at that. And then the North Carver land use report that we received had some good information for us, but we still need the other documents. One of the things that I want to make sure is that we cover is that the master plan appears to be a little bit behind. I think we should try to figure out how to step up that effort and put a little bit more into it. What we did receive seemed to be an older version of the master plan, and it looked like there'd been some notes and maybe some documents that are being put together, so I don't know why, or if there's anything that's more up to date that could be provided, but what the committee received looks to be not, that it needs a lot of work. And I think the thing I want to emphasize is that's very important to the town, and we need to get that up to date, because that's really setting where we're going, the direction, for the buildings, for the businesses we want to bring into town, all the planning and things like that. So I just want to emphasize that we should put a focus on getting that document up to date. And then the other thing, two more items here. One was that I wanted to verify that I just mentioned the Capital Stabilization Fund. I want to verify again that those two articles will be present. I think they're there, ready to go for the town meeting.
Right, and also just to, while you're on the topic, we have worked to make sure we carve out those estimated funds out of the projected or the recommended operating budget that I have on the table at the moment. So I assume the selectmen aren't gonna do anything different with that. And as you probably know, the school is on board with that and the whole financial picture, so, for next fiscal year. So it's
Okay.
not easy, but
Right.
we're
When-
making
when-
an effort here.
When you say carve out, so you're reporting it up above the line where it's coming in as revenue, and you're taking it back out in those articles?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Yes.
Is this for the capital building stabilization fund?
Correct, yes. So there's the amount that was put aside last year, and then there's an estimated amount for this year. Those are actually combined into what is a larger number. And the goal is conceptually is not just to put money away, it's to free up room within the levy limit for debt, for borrowing, future borrowing, so.
Okay. And then the last part I had here was that we do have an opportunity now that we should consider to look at while the opportunity exists, and that's that, given the fact that the wraparound mechanism is still viable and that the Capital Stabilization Fund has a committed amount of money going into it, the plan of record at the time was to start to look at either the police or the fire project. And so we think that if you're going to be planning a special town meeting warrant within the annual, we might want to consider looking at the viability of starting one of those projects. The mechanism is there, and it's probably could get started. I know there's a lot of pros and cons that need to be thought about before we do that, but let's at least look at the opportunity and make that decision. So again, you could use the Capital Building Stabilization Fund. If you fund it this year, now the yearly amount of money that's been carved out that's going into it has become viable for being able to support the bond. In addition, with the wraparound mechanism, that again, you're going to lose that opportunity over time. The longer you wait, the less it becomes viable to you. You could now apply that to this program.
I just want to caution you a little bit on the wraparound, because you have 279,000. I think we're paying for a bond for the coal property out of there, is that correct? Because that money's coming out of the CPA, $100,000 in principal a year, so that wouldn't be,
It's not part of the
it's not,
279.
okay, so it's not included in the 279.
Just the town
Okay.
hall and the library.
Yes, it's only the town. It's the same plan we had 2 years ago.
Okay.
Those same two.
There's also a small septic.
My concern on that, if I could, Mr. Chairman, is only that, those are funds that are currently part of the capital, debt financing, and we have, other capital recurring needs, like we've got a fire apparatus replacement, substantial fire apparatus replacement in the next several years too, and that's, that's gonna, obviously, we don't wanna be doing capital exclusions for trucks, because, so I'm just saying that's gotta be part of the whole discussion, that's
But
all.
also,
Unless sure
in the
everyone's aware
short-term
of that.
financing, we have money that we're paying off for the schematic design, $150,000 a year, for the feasibility study, so that money would also be available for capital equipment. We should all get together and plan this out together, because
So that's
It's a
our
timing
point.
thing.
That's the committee's point, is that you have both of those mechanisms available. We should really sit down and think about this opportunity because, again, it also just, the important part here is that by using those two mechanisms, you'd be able to stay within the levy limit and move forward. And we know those projects are very important also to get going.
well, the first project with the fire station with the wraparound and what we have right now going at the Building Stabilization Fund, we should be able to do it under the levy.
Correct.
But future ones might have to be a debt exclusion.
Not for the police, though. So the police and fire were both within this program, so they would not have to, we would be able to do both of those projects within the levy limit if we continue to carve out the dollars from the personal property new growth.
You might want to sit down with the treasurer and the town administrator and
Okay.
just iron out all the details where all these different dollars are going so that we know what is truly available and what isn't, so.
Okay.
Yeah, your schedule with the school project is, when we get into the pipeline, then we'll know more about where we're going there, so you can spend the time now working on
Right.
that part of the project, so.
Correct,
They're working on all of it.
right?
They're working on all of it.
Yep.
It's much better to be in front, though, instead of.
Oh, yeah, no, I wanna do that, but I just was thinking, okay, you're gonna have everything ba-boom working on it, but you will have a little bit of space trying to wait to see what's gonna go with the school.
And there's a lot of decisions and a long road ahead, as I mentioned. You have to go through, the whole MSBA process and, and town meeting support, town resident support and
What's the
just,
delay on the documents?
Yeah.
What that you're waiting for?
I don't know. I don't know right now.
And what are the remaining documents?
For the, I'm sorry, I thought you
Yeah,
meant for the,
because
from
don't
the
you
school
need
side.
those for the whole financial picture?
I do, I don't know. I don't know what that delay is. We'll need to, I was gonna craft a letter from our
Yeah,
board and,
once you send me an email as to what you're
Okay.
waiting for still, and I think I was away last time you sent that, and
Okay.
Elaine had gotten some, but let me know what you still need, and we'll see what we
I
can.
There were
will.
like 6 items, weren't there?
There were.
And
There were a
that
list of
you only
them.
received,
I'd like to
Two?
be CC'd on that email if you
Okay.
would.
Yeah, we
Okay.
received components of the master plan, draft working papers, and we also received the North Carver land use information from Norfolk, RAM. Nothing for South Carver land use, but, and then we did receive the draft of just the financial statements so that we could look to see what the fiscal 2012 expenditures were, liabilities, everything like that, so we could see what the impact for future revenues are, and what really, what we're trying to do is we're trying to understand what is competing for our future tax dollars.
Down the road.
Because whatever recommendation we give to the Board of Selectmen, it has to take into account every competing activity, whether it's a
Yeah.
building infrastructure, or if it's a current or future liability that we're gonna have to do, because if you don't know that, then we can't make a recommendation.
But we
And,
need to know what
and
choice.
we didn't do that the last time, and the reason why we didn't do it the last time is because we had 4 months.
Right.
And we had to do what we had to do, which was try to get to the school project.
You guys did a wonderful job under the time constraints and pressure that you operated on last time. Great job. So this time we expect even more, now that you have more time. No excuses
We have.
whatsoever, okay?
And
Okay.
I would add too, Mr. Chairman, that, what they are doing, and quite frankly, what we all have to do on an annual basis, is subject to a lot of factors that are out of our control. And, trying to plan out the use of the tax base, the tax levy for a generation is a lot easier if you have, if you're not a town that has such a dependency on state aid. So there's a lot of risk factors that are out of our control, which make it a little more of a daunting task than in maybe some other communities. So
Yes.
good luck with that, gentlemen.
thank you.
but through you, Mr. Chair, I think something should be done. I don't know how to handle not getting the documents, because you will end up having only 4 months if, how many weeks have already gone by and they haven't received the documentation that they need, so.
Well, Dan's gonna send an email, generate an email.
Okay.
And if that doesn't elicit a response, then obviously myself and Mr. LaFond will jump in with both feet.
But the lack of documentation isn't gonna impact your suggestion of moving forward with building the fire station first, is it?
No, I think
That's not gonna impact
the
that.
opportunities here now, as I mentioned, the town committed 2 years ago to the capital building stabilization fund and continues to commit to that. And that was the exact funding mechanism we needed for those 2 programs. And that with now the wraparound still being viable and, it really wouldn't impact the school at this point too much, because by the time we get past the decisions and the process, it's gonna be, we would have lost the opportunity. So now we can apply it to probably both the police and fire, and we should look at the, moving forward. We can sit down and talk about the numbers and the timing and
Yep.
things like that, and then just, the board can make a
How
decision on
long
that
is it gonna take to
information.
build a fire station?
I don't have that information.
Yeah,
How long?
I think it was 1 to 2 years, I think is what.
Is he here?
That was Craig Silver. There you go. Oh, he left the building. He said he didn't want to be involved in this, no.
It can take
Approximately.
a year to 2 years, a year in the planning phase, and then, 10 months to a year of construction.
Because you wanna start it and be within that window of opportunity for the wraparound and not exceed it and miss the
I
opportunity.
mean, it's a lot easier, given the fact that, it's, the plant is across the street, it's, basically a, blank piece of paper, for the most part, so, other than moving
land.
your training building, I think.
Dick, you have a question?
Your information on the master plan, did you get that from the town planner?
We did.
Because a lot of that work was being done by Serpent,
Okay.
and I'm wondering if they
Maybe he
dropped the
doesn't
ball a little, but we could get on his case and get that.
Is Serpent responsible for doing our town master plan?
They were involved in it, yeah.
I thought we had a town master plan committee.
We do, but you're working, the master plan committee's working with Serpent, they're doing a lot of the legwork.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair. For the residents and clarification, in terms of moving forward with the fire department, I am sure people will ask, well, why not the police station first? Because are you just saying the fire station, that we should start on
Well,
one of the
I
building
did say start
infrastructure?
on one of the buildings, and what I
Okay.
did state is that I think several years ago when, and I can't speak for the police chief and the fire chief, but I know they had talked about it and, about who would go first and things like that.
If I could interject, I was on that committee, and we decided that we were gonna do the fire station first, and then we'd be able to start doing the police station, because it's gonna be,
It's gonna be that footprint.
The police station's gonna stay right where it's at.
yeah.
Yeah, it was the,
Fire
it was,
department would
it was the
move
fire
across the
department's
street.
Figured there
footprint,
was
yeah.
a reason.
It was
Yeah,
more
that's pretty
feasible,
much it.
Just so people who are watching,
it was
Correct.
much more feasible over there with all the call firefighters coming in and, coming to a fire and getting easy access to the station,
I think it was Craig didn't want to be in a tent for 2 years.
you know. But that worked out very well, and the whole committee was in favor of that.
All right, gentlemen.
Okay, I'm all
Super.
set, thank you.
I'd just like to emphasize, I think we have to get one of these projects going to build some traction, get some momentum, all right? And then we can continue through with the other programs. And right now, it is affordable to the taxpayer, of which all of us are. So I just put my 2 cents in about that.
Yeah, because if we do it under the levy, it's not gonna really be an impact on the taxpayer, because we're
Right.
already paying for that debt and
Right.
reserved the rest of it in the stabilization fund.
Yes,
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
no.
thank you.
All right, scheduled next was Mr. Goulart from CCA-TV, but he was regretfully unable to make it. So we're moving on to items for discussion and possible vote. We have Purchase Street, Great Meadow Earth Removal Update, and I presume that's Mr. Garrettson here for that.
A good sign.
And he's already breaking the furniture.
Already.
That's good, oh, boy. Sit in that one.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come back. I want to give you another update on the progress that has been made. The Earth Removal Committee was called to do a review, and after there was the hearing on the solar project, there was some earth removal deficiencies that came up that was cited, and as the progress, I left with a recommendation and where we are in the process of bringing these up to date. There was a road that was used much to the behest of the residents on Leland Circle and the development that was behind. And there was an access to the earth removal site that was going through the development. That road has been blocked off, and there's no traffic on that road any longer. There was a road that was going behind Mr. Tobolowski's house that the earth removal trucks were going around in a circle. And this was in close proximity to the house. That road has also been blocked off, and there's no removal traffic that's going on that road at all. The only road in access and egress is going to be up against the reservoir, and that road is the road that the trucks are taking in and out. There was issues next to that. There has not been I guess I'd say a fence to restrict access to that road to the hours of operation as yet. That was scheduled to work on last Saturday, and with the rain that was there, the operator of the site told me that they didn't do it, but they would do it this Saturday. I fully expect that that road will have a fence and a gate to restrict access to the site. We had an incident where somebody went in the middle of the night up in there, and there was distress by the residents, as appropriately so. So the site should be restricted, and access should not be there at all the time. There has been a rework of the pumping of the reservoir, and the reservoir in the back is successfully being drawn down so that that work in the back reservoir can be finished. And the pumping and everything has gone without incident. There was a noisy pump that had been operating up in there. They successfully changed that, and now it's quiet again. The sand is going on schedule to be spread on the bog, and the loaming and seeding of the slopes. Some progress has been made, but it needs to be done more, and that will be done by June of this year. Not the entire bog area, but the area at the entrance to the site. And let's see, the reservoir, the road next to the reservoir, the removal of the development side, and the road into the housing development. There also, at the hearing that we had, there was an issue that there was some question about the water. And we aren't the water people, we're the dirt people. But I know that Mr. Logan is going to be dropping off tomorrow a water test of the analysis of the water that was in the reservoir. There was some questions about algae and whatever was, so he had the water tested up in there, and Mr. Tinkham will have a copy of the water test that's going to be there. And that's appropriate. So the citizen that had a concern about the water supply, it would be appropriate to have it handled by the Board of Health. And he asked me if I wanted a copy of it. I said, I don't do water, we do dirt. So that was where we had left it. But most of the serious concerns with every earth removal project, there are issues, and we aim to address these, and we've addressed the majority of the issues. There's going to be upcoming dust control, there will be other issues, and we intend to address these as they arise. So I would only reiterate to the citizens in that area that they would contact us and on the Earth Removal Committee, myself, and or Elaine at the Selectmen's office, or anybody at Town Hall here, and they can get a hold of us and we'll address these concerns. There's no need for anybody to have to tolerate a project that's going to make their living in the community unpleasant. So we will address these if we're informed about them. So that's where we are as an update to you, Mr. Chairman and the board.
Questions, comments?
Were you gonna comment on that Cranberry Road thing?
The Cranberry Road issue, there is Cranberry Road has had an increase in truck traffic that's been going out there. I sat with the citizens last fall and explained the removal project that was going on up off of Cranberry Road, Makepeace doing a large bog project. And they asked if they could split some of the traffic between Cranberry Road and Federal Road. And so our goal is to get the trucks out of the community as quick as possible. And they had a site where they were hauling to that was going to be on the South Shore side. And so rather than going down Federal Road and into the town of Wareham and then going back up 28 and back through the community down 58 and making a large circle around, they wound up sending more trucks down Federal Road and onto Cranberry Road. They obviously have been sending more trucks through Cranberry Road and not down Federal Road in the opposite direction towards by the old dump where the Tri-Town landfill is now. And I'll deal with Mark at the Makepeace Company tomorrow. They've been very responsive. They have the larger earth removal projects in town, and they understand that they will be responsive. Oftentimes, trucks are kind of like cats. You can hope that they'll go in the right direction, but they need direction and reiteration, and we'll get them in the right direction to be going the right way into the town of Wareham again. We had directed all the traffic to go that way in the immediately into Wareham. We started to back off after a lot of the road repair on Cranberry Road. Cranberry Road has been rebuilt and with earth removal money, and it has been successful. But that road gets an immense amount of traffic with the cranberries that go into the ocean spray plant that's there during the fall, and with trucks coming out. And the Makepeace Company, I know, will work with us and direct the truck traffic back down the Wareham Road, whatever is expedient for the community and whatever is right. So, again, we'll address the issue and send the trucks in the opposite direction. I'd like to tell them that we'd like to back off on the roads and have them send all the truck traffic in that direction for a period of time and give the citizens a break, and we'll send it that way.
That might be a good idea.
Okay.
Let me know how you make out with that,
Oh,
will you, Gary? Give me a
will.
call on
Yep,
that.
I
please.
will.
Thanks. Any questions?
No, just a comment. I appreciate you coming and giving us this update on the project out there in Great Meadow. I know that, I don't know if people realize it, but it's a volunteer board and you put a lot of time into it. So I appreciate, I know you're a very busy business owner, so I appreciate you taking the time to come here and update us on this important matter. And we might have to have you come in the future just to keep it alive.
But, thank you, Jack, but lots, I mean, we're only one small board. I see lots of the boards in the town that put in a lot of time on all of their projects. This is of concern to us, and we have a good active board that are responsible citizens of the community, so we'll do it. But I see this with a lot of the town. We're fortunate that we have people that care about the community and they're active on the boards and will participate. So we're only one. I won't take any credit for being any different from any of the other
Well, I
boards.
try and give credit where credit is due.
Thank
I
you.
realize
Thanks,
the
Jack.
town relies on volunteers.
Thanks.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Karen.
Oh, next up is the review of warrant articles for the annual town meeting. Oh, joy.
Can we take a little break?
Just to remind you, Mr. Chairman, this is to determine what stays and if anything leaves the warrant. This is not recommendations on the merits of the articles. So, unless you'd like to, but somehow I doubt it.
Maybe we can zip through this?
So just clearly what's going to stay, not necessarily if you want
Exactly.
changes to it?
There are some changes, language, things that have been, more formatting that town council has instructed Elaine to, but in terms of, if there's any articles that you think should leave the warrant, other than that, we just need to know what we're gonna have to post. What you decide to recommend on those individual articles is up to you at a later date.
What's the deadline for the posting on that, Rick?
Well, it's only 7 days, but we'll have a special town meeting warrant too, and at your next meeting, that'll be a fairly standard special town meeting warrant. And so we like to try to get them both out there 2 weeks before the meeting at least.
Okay.
So,
All right. If we start with Article 1, see if the town will vote to hear the report of any standing committee and to abolish any special committee not submitting a report, which is required to do so unless otherwise voted, and to establish any new committee or take any other action relative thereto.
Gotta keep it.
We need to take a look at these committees, because I think we have an excess of 150 committees, some of whom don't report out, and we never hear from them. And
right, and in this particular article, and many years ago, we asked town council about this, and the intent of this is really for any committees that have been established by town meeting themselves, not obviously committees established by
Ad
the
hoc
Board of
committees,
Selectmen,
right.
right? So, I don't know how many, we'd have to see if we have any left out there
Okay.
that are even,
so this is pretty much standard language.
pretty
We're
much,
just-
right.
Do we need to take a vote on these individually?
I don't think you've ever done that historically.
Okay. So we'll go by exception,
Right.
how's that?
That sounds good to me.
Sounds good.
In fact, if my memory serves me, you were always very good at hastening this.
All right, so everyone we don't say stop hold, we're gonna assume that's an approval. All right, to see if the town will vote to fix the salaries of elected town officers in accordance with general laws, chapter 41, and Section 108 is amended, and to raise and appropriate the proposed increases from the prior fiscal year, namely. Now, does the audience have copies of this? So you can't follow along with this? I know, I'm not sure they just want to listen to me drone on here all night, but
We would be happy to make some copies, Mr. Chairman, if you would like, if you give us 5 minutes. The royal us.
well, we could do this at the next meeting.
You could do it at the next meeting, yes. That would not break my heart either, Mr. Chairman.
Why don't we do that so that next time when they come in, we have the copies ready for them,
And
they're
we can
ready to
put it-
go. And that way they can follow along. And
Because the F-10 we print in-house, this we send out to print. That'll be May 14th.
Well-
I get close. We could?
Yeah, we could do it. We could do it, Mr. Chairman. Elaine can get it.
We're good.
Elaine can
We're
get it
quick
done.
and we're good.
Yeah,
We can do it. Besides, we have a lane.
exactly, exactly.
Well,
We might not
That's
have it on
fine.
May 14th.
okay, all right. Well, I'll take a motion on that if anybody would be so
Move
inclined.
that we go over the town warrant for the annual meeting and our next meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those, any further comments, questions, recommendations? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Keep up the good work. All right, request for a one-day special license bartending service of New England at Carver Sportsman Club on May 1 and August 3rd.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion,
Second.
and we have a second. Any comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? One abstention. As a member, I'll abstain from that. Okay, discussion and possible vote to change the Board of Selectmen agenda policy to allow topics outside of the listed agenda items to be discussed during citizens' participation. And this was brought up by our esteemed colleague, Ms. Helen Marone, last meeting, and it's probably long overdue. Would you like to enlighten the audience, Helen?
Sure. I'm just gonna read what I have so everybody knows what my proposed changes are. It will probably be, because you don't have it in front of you. So in order to enhance the communication between the residents and the Board of Selectmen, I had requested a revision to our current policy. Right now, we only allow citizens' participation at the end of the meeting for items on the agenda. And that was to start out to break in gently to see how it went, to make sure that everybody could handle themselves in a professional, fair way. I thought, and I think, that it's been going wonderful. I don't think people have been disrespectful, et cetera. So I am proposing that we enhance the citizens' participation in the following way. I'll read the existing citizens' participation section first, and then I will give you my proposal. And at the same time, I'm gonna pass this out to the esteemed colleagues. The existing citizens' participation policy is found within our Board of Selectmen's agenda policy, which is section number 4. So the existing citizens' participation policy states at the conclusion of the business portion of the meeting, there will be 15-minute citizens' participation. Citizens will be allowed to speak briefly on items listed and discussed on the agenda. Citizens will not be allowed to speak on items that are not listed on the agenda other than to request that an item be placed on a future agenda. Personalities, politics, personal attacks, and pending litigation are not appropriate material and will be ruled out of order by the chair. The chair is authorized to issue warnings to the offending parties and to determine if requests for future agenda items are appropriate. So it's fairly limited. My proposal is, at the conclusion of the business portion of the meeting, there will be a 15-minute citizens' participation. Each resident will preface his or her participation by bulleting his or her discussion topic. Residents may speak on agenda items or town issues that they deem relevant or time-sensitive. A Board of Selectmen can respond briefly, but there will be no formal discussion or vote by the Board of Selectmen. The chair is authorized to deem a topic inappropriate for citizens' participation without formal notice to residents and request it to be placed on a future agenda. Again, personalities, politics, personal attacks, and pending litigation are not appropriate material and will be ruled out of order by the chair. And I'm thanking you all for your consideration to this change.
Thank you, Helen. Do we have a motion so we can,
Motion to approve.
do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All right, discussion? Questions, comments, recommendations?
Yeah, can I, Helen, okay, so what are we doing? Are we eliminating any particular, we're allowing more flexibility for citizens to bring up different topics?
Correct.
Now, how will that work with that open meeting law agenda thing?
Well, as I had mentioned, I had contacted the Attorney General's office and had spoken with Heidi Bush at the Attorney General's office, and she stated as long as we have no knowledge of what the residents are bringing up, that we are not in violation of the open meeting law. But I did add verbiage anyway to still somewhat keep control over keeping it contained so it doesn't go into a, we're not put into a position where it may become an open meeting law. It will be up to the chair.
Well, I don't think we will take any votes on anything. We may discuss it, but we won't be voting on it.
Correct.
So, but
Correct.
that's fine.
I think what you're saying is the participation by the board will be minimal.
Right.
Not, it allows citizens to be able to bring up their
Right.
briefs or
Concerns,
concerns
exactly.
or anything like that without, you know.
And then, like Dick said, it just makes it more flexible for everybody, and I think
So,
gives us a quicker response time too,
Right.
to their concerns.
Well, exactly, and the reason I got on this was because of, for example, the solar issue. You know, you had a whole room full of residents that were aching to talk, but because it hadn't been on the agenda, they were unable to talk, and, you know, this meeting is about the residents, so.
You know, it used to be years ago, you could do stuff like that, but then all these rules and
I know.
regulations, and we're
Still have to be
overregulated,
careful.
overruled. It's a good idea if we can do it.
Yeah, and
within
I think
confines.
the commentary in here about no formal discussion or vote by the board tries to, again, minimize any impact of,
Exactly.
you know, I mean, I've been here long enough that there's been multiple policies with regard to citizen participation, and I think, to the extent that they've been amended by the board in the past, it was really to keep control over the forum and some of the behavior during the forum, so, and I don't see where this compromises any of that. That's just my opinion, granted, we haven't seen it before this, but my major issue would be make sure there's no stepping over that fuzzy line of the open meeting law of violation, so.
Well, I have a concern with that. I kind of think it does step over the line because I don't think the Board of Selectmen should be responding at all if it's not on the agenda. I think that citizens' participation is important, but this is primarily the Selectmen's business meeting. And if citizens want to have us respond, I think it needs to be on the agenda so other citizens can be made aware of that in advance. I don't think it's fair to the citizens who aren't here, who didn't know what was going to be said. And I, for one, I don't want to respond to anything that's not on an agenda. It's just my personal feeling. And
Through you, Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
It's here that a Board of Selectmen can respond. It doesn't mean you have to respond. And I also mentioned that I spoke with the Attorney General's office at the last meeting, and we were going to discuss this at this meeting. So I was hoping that if you had concerns, that it would have been, you would have contacted the Attorney General to get that clarified, because I hate to keep it from the residents because we don't feel comfortable. But on an individual basis, if you don't feel comfortable responding to a resident during the citizens' participation, you don't have to. I feel very confident responding to a resident depending on what the topic is, based on my discussion with the Attorney General's office.
Well, and I respect that. I also feel uncomfortable, and I feel it's unfair, as I said just a minute ago, to those citizens who won't be present because it wasn't on the agenda, and therefore they are not being informed of the discussion and of our possible responses.
Okay. Dick?
well, I like the idea of having it a little more open, and it allows me to respond if I want to, but I can refer it to the next agenda.
Correct.
Which I think if it's a situation where I haven't had a chance to do my homework, then I'm gonna refer it to the agenda. I'm not,
Agreed.
I'm all right with
I
it.
suspect a lot of the questions and comments and stuff that come to us are not gonna require a vote or anything of an immediate nature. It's something that we're gonna have to go research, look into, or whatever before we can do anything anyway, so.
And I believe most of the discussion through you, Mr. Chair, from residents are more that they just want to let their feelings known.
Right.
That, you know, what I've seen so far with citizens' participation has not been to have an open dialogue. It's more they just want to let us know what they're feeling about a particular topic, so.
And we want, you know, people in our town to be more involved in our government. This
Right.
helps them, makes them feel free that they can come here and present something, and, you know, if it's that big an issue, we'll put it on the next agenda. But we do up our own agenda here, and we don't really take into consideration the residents' views, and this allows them to do that. And, you know, yeah, this is a business meeting, and we can pretty much set our own rules, and Helen found out that, you know, we can do it within the confines of the open meeting law.
Well, you know, like the Constitution says, government for the people and by the people, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, I don't feel uncomfortable with it. If I do, I'll just step back and recuse myself, or we'll put it on another agenda, like Dick said.
Well, I just like the idea that if there is something that the people at home need to respond to and they didn't know about it, then we, in that situation, put it onto the next agenda.
Any more debate? Hearing none.
All right.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed?
I'm going to abstain until I find out a little more about it.
Okay. 4-0-1. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a discussion of independent auditor's report. Okay, and somebody put this on the agenda, I presume they're gonna.
Mr. Chair, just a real general question. I just wanted to know whether the board would like to, at some future point, have the independent auditors in for some kind of discussion or not.
I think that would be an excellent idea.
Okay.
Is that-
We would really have to have that, because when you look at these financial statements, even myself being a CPA, they're really complex and convoluted, and I think it's, have the auditor come in and explain it to us, and then probably after he leaves, we probably won't understand it again either.
I will
talked
be-
to Rick, so I presumed, you said they were, the
I would,
report went back out and they were
Yeah.
redoing it and.
yeah, I'll be happy to speak to Mr.
Sullivan.
Sullivan and see if there's one of our meetings in May, he might be available.
Sure.
Would that be fine?
Maybe something right before a town meeting.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, I'll check.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
And through you, Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I was told, and I don't know if I can ask this question, but the independent auditor's report is out on the website,
Yes, Diane
And-
put it up on the website.
and I just want to know proper protocol, because I have a real concern with that, because of the fact that this is for management use only at this point in time, and this is why I had a concern about the website committee and having no policies and procedures in place as to who approves putting things out on the website. It clearly states in this independent auditor report that this communication is intended solely for the information and use of management of the town of Carver, and is not intended to be and should not be used for anyone other than these specified parties. And so I had sent an email to the clerk's office today to find, you know, so I could get the information, but it was late in the day.
No, that's fine.
So,
I guess 2 points I would have is this is the final document, so this is a public document. The draft documents are not public documents. There's exemptions under the public records law for draft documents. But I did check, and it was, I guess, Diane, we actually have a habit of doing that. But if you're uncomfortable with that, I have no problem asking Diane to take it down until you meet with the auditors. I have no problem with that.
If I could just say something, you know, we've never had the auditors ever, as far as I know, appear in front of the Board of Selectmen. And I've been pushing, first I pushed to have the RFP and go out and do the proper procedure and hire an auditor and have a selection committee and put that in place. And then the next thing would be come before the Board of Selectmen and make the presentation. And then at that point in time, the selectmen could deem whether it would be a public document or not. But up until that point, it's really the auditor's work product here, you know.
Well-
I know you and I can disagree
Well,
on that, but we need to have a procedure and a protocol.
Yeah, two points to that. First of all, it is a final document, so, and again,
It is.
if there's a question as to the public nature of it, that's not an issue. We can make sure it leaves the website, okay? But, I mean, there was one time, maybe half a dozen years ago, I forget, where we had a
Yeah.
MLB in, and I forget on whose impetus that was, but it has not been a habit for us.
No,
And
but
whether
it-
you think that's a good procedure.
No, it should be.
Why would you publish this when we haven't even had a chance to review this?
Why would we publish
Yeah.
it? I'm sorry, what do you mean? I mean, these documents were put in all the selectmen's folders.
Yeah, I know,
A
but
few
before we
days
have a
For us
chance to
to
sit
review.
down and talk about this and discuss this, last discussion you and I had, this document had been sent back out to them to make some adjustments.
Right, that what you see
Right.
is the final product, right?
But we haven't
Right.
discussed this, we haven't gone over any of this, and it's on a
Right.
website now?
Well, I think you'll find, as Mr. Franny has pointed out, that it hasn't been the history in this town for the selectmen to have a public discussion with our auditors. It's actually, you know, I think it happened once in all the years I've been here, so, you know.
We're maybe a little bit more involved than previous.
Well, it's, however you'd like to do it is fine.
Yeah, I think we should take that
Just
down
give us
until we
the
have a chance
direction and we'll
to,
do it.
please take it down until we have a chance to discuss this.
Be happy to do that.
But what
Through
other
you,
people-
Mr. Chair, I have a little issue with taking down a public document that's, it's a
not
public document.
It's not a public
Is a public
document yet, because we haven't
Right.
vetted it, and we haven't accepted it.
Until we review it, you didn't read the thing on the bottom of his letter.
Well, it is a
where he's
public
giving you
document.
notice.
You know, I hate to have people argue over things that in the end don't mean a whole lot, because I believe, actually, I have every reason to believe it is a public document. That being said, we don't put every public document we have on the website either, so we
So
can,
why
I think
this
we
one?
can accommodate
But why
everybody.
this one?
We're breaking
Well-
with tradition, because it's probably never been put on the website
Our
before.
audit reports have been put up on the website
Oh, have they?
historically, yeah, so.
They're-
It's,
yeah,
again,
they're up there now.
Through
it
you,
can-
Mr. Chair.
It can easily leave the
Yes, ma'am.
website if that's the board's
Yeah.
wish until we meet with the auditors.
My question is who, number one, who was the one that said, okay, it can go out there? Who is the one that submitted it? And who is the one that uploaded it? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, as you all know, I've had a major concern with how, and I'm gonna be quite frank, there's a lot of conflict in this town. And things are happening that is clearly political. And this is why when you have a website committee chairperson that is so connected internally, I wanna know how and who uploaded this document, because I clearly believe, as you were concerned about the audit committee being for, you know, putting it on the table because it was, in your opinion, for political motives, I think this is clearly for political motives. And I'll give you an example from a professional standpoint why. I was at work, and I get a quarterly audit about my department and how we're doing. I always, as the manager of my department, always have the opportunity to review and at least look at the audit report before they issue a final finding. I was working on it on my desk today. The auditor will wait to get a final review. I believe out of common courtesy to the Board of Selectmen that we should have had time to review this before it became public.
And let me respond to that, Helen.
Please.
We had every year for eons, the relevant financial officers meet with the auditors in an exit conference. It happens every year. It happened again this year. They present draft documents. We go through those documents page by page. All the issues are vetted. You know, sometimes, you know, there's some rather lively discussions. And then they put together a final document after we have some agreement on some of those issues. That's the way it's always been. And I think you'll probably find that's rather customary. So the product that you get, the selectmen get, and other, is a final work product of the auditors. So if you'd like to change that in the future, that's fine, but that has not been the history here. So, like I said,
It hasn't been the history that has come before the Board of Selectmen.
it
but the-
hasn't been, correct.
They were put in our folders, generally things are put in our folders for us to review. And then, if need be, come up at a future selectmen's meeting. Because, I mean, they're really comprehensive, and even though you read through them, you're really not gonna understand very much of it. But at least the board has a chance to go through it in advance and be prepared for a meeting or a presentation.
Well, I will be, like I said, I'll be happy
Yeah.
to call Mr. Bennett. I'm sure he'd be
What,
happy to meet
what
with
concerns me is before we have a chance to review this, this shows up on a personal website and a newsletter distributed to everybody throughout town. Conveniently,
Well, that's,
conveniently a week before an election.
that is not something that.
It came
I
from
don't-
somewhere.
I don't deal with personal websites,
Well,
Mr.
it
Chairman.
came from somewhere, Rick, and it shouldn't have been released to anybody.
Well, that document was put in the folders of the selectmen, public document. What individual members of the Board of Selectmen do with that is their business.
Okay, well, I'm just letting you know.
But they
That's
obviously,
fine, but I just want to separate any
And-
concerns you have about
They
my
obviously-
office.
And what does it say in the paragraph? This communication is intended solely for the information and use of management of the town of Carver and is not intended to be and should not be used by anyone other than these specified parties. I should not be recovering this from a personal website before I am briefed on it in here. And we have a chance to discuss. So, and I'm not blaming you.
No, like I say, if you'd
There's
like to,
something wrong with our process here. And this is out on a personal website before it's even.
Through you,
accepted by
Mr.
the
Chair,
board.
because something went wrong because of the fact that if this is this is a lot of information for the town, and somehow or another, I didn't get this electronically, so how did it get onto somebody's newsletter? How were they able to do this electronically unless it was sent to them? And that's why this independent auditor's report is, you should take it down from the website
it
for
doesn't
now.
sound like your questions are geared towards
Right,
me,
and that's
'cause
why I'm
and
stopping.
I
and
don't
we'll-
have
and-
answers to those
yeah,
questions.
and we're gonna put it on an
But
agenda for another day.
That's fine, but I
with
will,
the website
will
committee.
say, though, that there's been nothing done this year that hasn't been done historically in my office.
Can I just
That's
ask,
all.
did anybody on the Board of Selectmen receive this audit report electronically?
Mr. Franny did,
just today,
his role as treasurer collector.
just today, I have to deal
Okay.
with Standard and
Right,
Poor,
he
our
has reports
rating
to file,
agency.
Yes.
But I just received that today.
I would like to, could I put it on as an agenda item next week? Because I would like to get information as to how one of our selectmen got this report electronically and none of the other ones did. So we need to discuss
No, I
the,
mean, was the document could have been scanned by anybody that.
Yeah, it could have been scanned.
Which is different than, I mean, I just gotta
True.
say,
I just think it was very unprofessional, political, to use a term of a couple of my colleagues, considering the fact that we have an election coming Saturday.
Well,
So,
the Carver reporter received a complete
Yeah, the
copy,
Carver
and
reporter
and I had to
received
have an interview with him today.
Yeah.
You know, which is disturbing to me, because this happened to me once before, years ago.
so
when was
I
on
just
the
want
select
people
board.
out there to know that, this is
It's
the kind
being
of stuff
used
that
for-
goes on, and you wonder why people do not get along when this kind of stuff goes on, okay?
right.
And just think, if they'll do it to somebody up here because it suits their political will and purposes, when they don't need you any longer, they'll do it to you too. So, just bear that in mind.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, and I know, I understand nobody's throwing rocks this way, but I do feel.
No way.
No, but I do feel it's important to point out that, my office had electronic drafts. Those drafts never left my office other than to go to the appropriate public officials involved in the exit conference process. The final versions that were sent to me never left my office until Mr. Franny got a copy today, and it was important for me to make sure that the bound copies, final documents, were received by me before anything came out of my office electronically regarding that, so,
Well,
and that's where I'd like to leave it.
Just to be
you know.
upfront with you, I'm inclined to contact the Secretary of State and the Inspector General because I think that this is unbelievably unprofessional, immoral, and just, you can't have this stuff. You just can't have it. So, Dick, go ahead. Let's wrap this up.
I received my packet, I picked it up yesterday, and this was in my packet. And I was reading through it. And although you folks want to do a review of it next meeting, it's in front of me, and I am upset, I'm shocked at some of the things that came out.
Through you,
in this
Mr. Chair.
report. And I'm
This
not
is in-
done. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
No. In total, this is in total violation of the open meeting law to discuss the internal content of this because this agenda.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is, because the
Please sit down
discussion
back
of,
there.
the discussion of the
You-
independent auditor's report does not, it doesn't show specificity in terms of, we had to postpone my discussion of the citizens' participation because it wasn't detailed enough. This does not even take into consideration what auditor's report you're talking about.
Well, I didn't go into, I just told you I was shocked, okay?
If you really
That's what
want
I
to get
said.
into
So we
We're
need
not-
to do.
We're not getting into it,
I will-
Jack.
yeah.
We need
it.
to do
Bennett will come in and we'll.
a good rundown on it, and if it's at our next meeting and that's the way it has to be, okay.
Well-
But it came out to me yesterday, so, when I saw that was a discussion item tonight, I didn't see any reason why I shouldn't be able to say something about it, but I'm with you on that.
This was published, you may have got yours yesterday, but this was in a newsletter several days ago. So that's my concern. This information
well-
was released to somebody prior to the rest of the board receiving it.
This,
Through you, Mr. Chair, we are going to put it on the agenda to discuss it
Yeah.
in detail.
Tomorrow.
Make some phone calls to the Inspector General
and my understanding is this information came in, would have been probably last Tuesday or Wednesday, probably FedEx. And so I would assume at that time it went into the selectmen's packets, or by the end of last week.
All right, so we're gonna table this till next meeting. Do I have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to, I'm sorry.
No, I just want to know if you, because I don't know if Mr. Bennett or whoever he would bring from the audit
Sullivan.
company.
It's Mr.
I'm
Sullivan.
sorry, it's Bennett, it's
Don't-
Powers and
don't let
Sullivan.
him
Why
hear
am I
that.
saying Bennett?
Why don't we just table it
Until we can get
until we
an
can get a
appointment with the
committed
audit
date for
firm.
Mr. Sullivan to come in, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that might be too soon, 2 weeks.
So we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
I abstain.
401 then. Thank you. Discussion and possible vote regarding appointing a screening committee for a new town administrator. Somebody brought this up?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I have a procedural concern about, Rick, I just want to put it on the record, you've done a fantastic job for the town of Carver, and you will be greatly missed. But in regards to your leaving, there's a lot of procedural questions I have. Before we even discuss these topics, I read your contract with the town of Carver, and I'm assuming that this is a voluntary term, resignation on your part. Well, in the, bear with me for a second, in your contract currently, bear with me. It states that the town administrator may voluntarily terminate his employment by providing a 60-day written notice to the Board of Selectmen delivered by receipt requested certified mail. So I haven't seen it, so I don't know if you've done that, and if you haven't done it, I don't feel comfortable even making any moves as regards to your departure until we follow the proper contract
Yeah.
statement.
That's fine. Just so you know, I didn't put either one of these on the agenda. Obviously, there were concerns of probably multiple members of the board, so
Yeah.
it was my goal tonight, and I talked to Jack about it, about having a discussion regarding my contractual obligations because obviously my goal is to be fair to all parties. I mean, as you know, I've got a requirement, I also have benefit time. You know, it's important to me to make sure that I help this town get through its annual town meeting. So I want to be fair to everybody.
Right.
I think that's why they
So how-
scheduled the executive session, didn't you?
Yeah,
discuss
right,
those items
right,
and-
so,
right.
but like I said, I didn't put either one of these on the agenda, but I obviously,
Whoever put this on the agenda, do they have a,
I don't even know.
Yeah, thank you. I asked
Yeah,
for
I-
it, that's okay. I
I
asked
was
for
on
it to
vacation, Mr. Chairman, so I beg off this
Uh,
one.
again?
to be on there, and only because we got word that Rick was leaving, and I know he hasn't signed his, or he hasn't given us his official letter yet. But I know that the governing bylaw, governing documents of the town of Carver discuss a screening committee. They don't discuss an interim town administrator, they don't, there's a lot of things it doesn't discuss, but I know it does discuss a screening committee. So I thought it'd be a good idea just to bring that up, the process, what we need to do, what we need to go through, since we have a little time, you know, that's all.
All right, so what do you want to do with this?
I'll make a motion, we table.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Until we receive
The 60-day.
notice, then we take no action.
enough.
Okay.
Is there discussion?
There is.
Thank you. It was also, I believe, made public that given vacation time, Rick may not be here for 60 days. Is that correct? You're not sure?
Well, I have some benefit time, and like I said, that's why I wanted to discuss my contractual
Right.
obligations.
And I can't discuss those with
the
you,
board after the
given
meeting,
my
so.
other situation, my other role. But I think it's important for us, sooner rather than later, to set up a screening committee, because surely choosing a town administrator is not going to be an overnight process.
It's gonna be a long, drawn-out process. I remember the first time we did it, I was on the screening committee.
Rick set the bar awful high. It's going to take us a long time to
I was,
find somebody that can replace him,
I hate
right?
to say this, but I was here when we hired Rick, and hopefully I'm still gonna be here when Rick departs.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'm not sure how to take that, Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Vice Chairman.
Hearing none, you guys can work out the other details in the executive session. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is tabled.
I'm opposed to tabling it, yes.
Next up, discussion and possible vote to authorize the vice chair to hire an interim town administrator. Anybody like to jump in with this?
I think if we're eliminating a screening committee for the moment, then we ought to be tabling that item also.
Can I make a suggestion, though, Mr. Chairman? Only in that, obviously, you will be getting a letter from me, there's no question about that. But if, I do think it probably would be helpful on an informal basis, and I had a discussion with Jack today about some of the professionals out there that do interim work. And certainly, I'll be happy to follow up with Jack and try to get a list of those individuals who might be available to serve in an interim capacity for a future discussion by the board, if you'd like.
My concern is if something comes up quickly and you have to depart, we have nobody that can step in and fill in at this point in time. As Mr. Franny stated, it may take an extensive period of time to find your permanent replacement. So I think it behooves us to find an interim that can step into the void, especially if you're gonna be using vacation time and everything else. We may need to have somebody come in, just start learning the ropes and get their feet on the ground before town meeting and everything.
Right, well, like I said, my goal is to get the town through town meeting. And after that, obviously, but like I said, you know, I obviously get the sense from your last vote, the goal is to have just table this, but I will, like I said, I'll be happy to work with Jack anyway, just to try to get a list of those people who may be suitable to come in here, you know, some of the.
Well, that's why I wanna be able to jump when we have to
Yeah.
jump, so.
So I can do that.
And if I may, briefly, I think it's really good with Rick working with Jack to go through that list. I don't think, and this is absolutely no offense, Jack, at all, but I don't think any one of us should be authorized to appoint an interim. I think that's a decision that needs to be made by the board, you know.
Well,
so.
you and I can't participate in that, obviously, so.
Well,
This-
I've actually researched my particular role, and I've made a disclosure to the town clerk, and I can participate. I don't know about you, but.
And, you know, obviously, I'm not gonna go out and just
Yeah.
unilaterally appoint someone.
Right.
I'm gonna consult with, you know, the rest of the board members, because it's an important decision for someone to be in that role on
Yeah.
a transitional basis.
We need to be able to discuss that pretty
Yes.
thoroughly.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to really have someone, but
Somebody has to
is-
lead the search, though, Dick.
we
you know what I
need,
mean?
yes, oh yeah, well, that's
Otherwise,
true.
we're gonna stagnate and sit here. and-
We need to come up with some suggested people. You know, and the first thing that I thought of was Mr. Healy from the Middleborough, who's retired as the town administrator, and he did serve as an interim town administrator for Kingston.
No, we can
So
certainly take a
something
look
like
at him.
that.
No,
So look at all
and
different,
you know,
just in
these
fairness,
are-
you know, Jack and I talked
Yeah.
about him and a number of other people this
Yeah.
morning who actually do that kind of work, so I think I'd be happy to work with
Yeah.
Jack to try to put together a list of
Okay.
people who you may want to bring in to discuss
So,
with.
Yeah.
Do we wanna make a motion?
I'm good with that. Yeah, I make a motion that we proceed with that process.
With the vice chairman, okay. Do I have a second on that?
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second that the vice chairman will be responsible for,
My motion would be our town administrator and the vice chairman work together on
To research possible interim.
Right.
it. Interim
administrative
candidates.
That's
and
good,
we can bring them forward to the board and,
be good, yeah. And I'll leave.
we can discuss it.
You guys can have all the fun.
You love this.
I do, don't I?
do we have that? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous.
We're gonna count on Elaine to make that look good.
All right.
Okay, approval of minutes of February 12th, February 26th, and March 12th.
I have to look to see.
You want them in order?
See, I don't have.
First one would be February 12th, right? Want all three?
No, I'd rather do them separately.
Okay, I make a motion, we accept the minutes of February 12th.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it for discussion purposes only.
We have a motion and a second. It's now open for discussion. Jack, go ahead, kick it off.
What is all this underlined on page 2? I mean, I think the people that take the notes for us do an excellent job, and they have this much change on it is an affront to them, I think. You know, I think they do a good job, and they're the official record keeper for the board. And I think maybe you've had a minor change here or there, but all of this underlined stuff here is just disturbing to me.
Is there a reason why we're starting to highlight specific things now?
Well, I
think
asked for
we're asked
that
to do that,
because,
yeah.
you know, there's always,
Just
we're
to
always being
denote
held up
change.
and there's always changes and you like to see what the changes are. Now we see all the changes here,
Okay,
so.
so you don't have an issue with them?
I do.
Oh.
I'd like to eliminate it all,
The underlined pieces?
all the
Well,
underlined
then
pieces.
you're eliminating stuff that happened. Those were everyone else gets a chance to, all of us get a chance to say, you know, you
It's
missed
just
this
too
or you
much.
missed that. Well,
I
it
think-
happened.
I think they do a very good job at keeping track
This
of
is
this.
not to say they don't do a good job, Jack. Please don't put those words in my mouth.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
All right, so. you
My
wanna-
motion is to delete all the underlined areas.
We have a motion to delete the underlying areas. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not ready for discussion.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Jack, don't you, wouldn't it make more sense for you just to?
We need a motion so we can open
I'm
the
sorry.
discussion.
Sorry.
Seconded for the purposes
All
of
right.
discussion.
We have a motion and a second.
May I make a comment? At any time, I've always noticed that we allow any member to add something to our minutes. I've never seen us object really to an addition to something that might pertain to any one of us on the board. So I wouldn't favor just scratching somebody's suggested changes unless they weren't true.
Well, I mean, just read in the bottom paragraph, stating that for any motion to approve the appointment of Kevin Robinson, and then it's added in stating that this is the way it should have been done the last time, and Ed James should have been appointed back then. Do we really want to put that in the minutes?
Well, it's on the DVD, so.
Well, she took the minutes, and then down below, it was added, Maroney agreed with Franny that Ed James should have been appointed to the position the last time. Maroney did not know if Ed James would be interested, but thought mentioning it to him was the right thing to do. Are we gonna start doing everything on a verbatim basis?
Well, whoever.
Well, through you, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just think that it's going to be easy, because sometimes you do need to make amendments to, or changes or little tweaks to a minutes, and isn't that where we either approve or not approve? That you can reject the actual minutes themselves?
Well, in this paragraph, half of it has been added back in.
Are you talking about the Maroney agreed?
Page 2, under appointment of associate member Kevin
Yeah.
Robinson to the
Well,
board.
I can share with you that someone chose to wrote, Maroney agreed with Franny that Ed James should have been appointed to the position last time. I don't have the right to take away something that somebody that was written, so I added the next line because I wanted that conversation to be clear. But I would have just had none of it in if it had been my choice. Do you see what I'm saying?
Just goes back to the statement that, the minutes are kept by a person that does a very good job at it, and then this is almost like wholesale changes, so I'll just drop my objection.
Well, who made the changes?
I made the first one, and apparently Helen made the second one, so.
There's two sets of changes
Yeah.
combined into.
I understand where Jack's coming from, is that we can't expect to have like paragraphs of changes because,
We're changing the intent of the minutes for
Of
the
the
person
minutes.
that's taking the minutes for us.
right.
No, it didn't change the intent, Jack, it's off the DVD. That's what was said.
I mean, we could take the DVD and transcribe it word for word, and we'd have
That's
a
true.
book here.
Well, I think that if that's how we're gonna approach this, then that's what needs to be done. It'll be transcribed word for word off the DVD. You can't just have it half one way and half the other way.
Elaine's gonna have to work overtime.
Well, sorry about that, Elaine.
Well, I don't have a problem with what Helen added.
Well, as I look at this overall set of minutes, between the two editions, there wasn't that much
Yeah.
added.
Yeah, overall, but when you look at that, just that one section, the whole thing, it's been like doubled with the changes that are in there. That's my concern,
Well-
the thing up above, I don't mind.
I think what Jack's trying to make a point of is that some of us don't have time to sit and watch a DVD and, transcribe all over again things that were discussed in the meeting, that it really should be from the secretary of what she witnessed that night, and that we should be able to make only just minor changes and not a
And-
whole,
And these are from February 12th,
so.
and I don't want you,
All right,
we're not blaming Elaine.
then let's have a motion.
We got it already. We got a motion and a second
That's to approve them.
to approve.
Do we want to make a motion that future minutes are?
Somebody want to make an amendment?
Jack had made a motion to delete all the underlined, did you drop that motion?
Yeah, I'll drop it.
All right.
All right.
Just in the future, let's be a little bit more
Yeah,
careful.
and then we'll
Because it's
just
hard for
watch.
us to all go back and recall. And we
And
don't,
then we'll just watch.
But
to
we
see
either
if
do it
that-
one way or the other. We're not doing it half and half. It's
Right.
either total transcription, or it's the memory of the recording secretary, and that's the way
Oh,
we go.
okay. Then I'll make an amendment to,
If I could just maybe explain what happens, either Elaine or Diane would draft the minutes, I review them, and before the board even sees them, and of course, we want to be as accurate as possible and as, I consider politically antiseptic as possible. But in doing so, there may be gaps that members of the board feel that were created, so it's out of our hands at that point, so, but I just don't want anybody to
But
think
the
this is
underlying
helping.
feeling I'm getting here is that it's specific items, specific,
And that's.
you know what I'm saying?
Right,
People
and that's
that
really up to
their
the
remarks are
board.
being,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah,
So I want to eliminate that.
Yeah.
Whether it's one or the other.
Well, then I don't want to put, excuse me, I don't want to put undue burden on Elaine. I would make an amendment that in the future, that our minutes will be as the secretary presents them.
I hope you got the right title, because I thought secretary was an old term.
Unless there are legal,
Well, this is the issue. I mean, most boards and committees and take minutes, and then commissions take minutes. They're reviewed by the commission, board, or committee, and amendments are made. I mean, nobody's perfect. You don't always come up with the perfect set of minutes the first time. And I'm not sure we can allow or prohibit members of any board, committee, or commission to not amend the minutes if the amendment needs to be made. I don't know how you can do that.
And I agree with Sarah, but all I'm saying is that it comes before us at this point, and then we make a
then why'd you bring it up?
No,
Why did you bring all this up?
no, what I'm saying is
Jesus, not yet.
you should be able to make whatever changes you want, but I mean, they can't be wholesale changes like this. You gotta be a little bit more
Well,
respectful of
what changes
the
are
person.
okay, Jack? You know, I mean.
I'm lost.
That's where I
I
go
think
back
members
to,
need to be able to make changes, and it's not clear to me we can prevent people from
Right.
making amendments.
that's where I go back to, Mike, it was because you said we can either only have it one way, but I still go
Yeah.
back to that we should just either accept the minutes or reject them on an individual basis after the changes have been made.
All right,
But that's what we always do.
let's take a step backward, take a deep breath. All right, do we have a motion to approve these minutes?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of February 12th.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion on this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
We have a 401, Elaine.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of February 26th.
We have a motion for the minutes of February 26th. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second.
I don't see any changes in this.
Any
No.
comments, questions, recommendations? This is an extensive set of minutes.
Yeah, I definitely made a few changes on this.
No, you didn't.
No?
The next one,
It was the next one?
yeah. We're on February 26th, right, Dick?
Yes.
I don't think there's any changes on here.
Oh, no, you know what? You're right. This was the older one. Okay, I'm okay.
Are we good?
Yep.
All right, hearing no further comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of March 12th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second in the minutes for March 12th. Do we have any comments, questions, recommendations, concerns?
Actually, I apologize, and this is definitely not Elaine's fault. I just haven't had a chance to look at these.
Okay, we can put these off till the next meeting.
Thank you.
If that's acceptable with the rest of the board.
Okay, withdraw my motion.
Okay, that motion's withdrawn. We'll have a motion to table this till May 14th.
Motion, we table it, March 12th minutes.
And do we have a second?
Through you, Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am?
do you think we should have a policy here to how long we can put these off? Because this is over a month.
6 weeks.
Yeah, we're getting better. We're getting better.
All right.
We are improving.
I had brought that up
We're out of
before.
January and February and mid-March now, so
You're out here every meeting.
I'm not too concerned now. So anyways, we have a motion and a second to table this. Stay with me, folks, stay with me.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comment, questions?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous, Elaine. Okay. Citizens' participation. Oh, my goodness. All right, Bob, I know you're gonna talk forever. Dan, come on up. State your name and address, please, Dan.
Dan Foran, 20 Brook Street Farm. Just quick question clarifying, with the vote you took earlier, it doesn't have to be, what I bring up doesn't have to be on the agenda, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you're gonna get an answer. or
Oh,
a
no,
vote.
no, I just wanted to make sure that I could
Okay.
quickly
As long
say
as you know.
something that's not written
As long as
on
you
the
understand the
agenda.
ground rules.
Got it.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring up that I live in North Carver, on the Plimpton town line and in the, well, first, real quick, I have a farm, at 20 Brook Street, and my farm has become Fort Knox to predators, dogs mainly, coming into my farm and attacking my animals and killing them. I've gone ahead and done appropriate steps that the town has asked me to do for that. I just want to point out that Plimpton doesn't have a leash law, but Carver does have a leash law, and the claim that I keep getting from the police and the dog officer is that, sorry, Plimpton doesn't have a leash law.
But if they're in our town, they're violating our laws.
Right, and
The
you know,
animals.
the dog officer will actually pretty much, I don't mean to speak for her, but she'll verify exactly what I'm saying, that if I could write you a list of the dogs that have come in my yard, the only one that hasn't invaded my yard, believe it or not, is a black lab. Well, I happen to own a black lab, so I've completed the list, but it's getting a little tiresome. I don't know what can be done, but
Yeah,
Mr. LaFond has an answer for you.
Well, you have more confidence than you should, Mr. Chairman. I know one of the problems, obviously, if it's a Carver resident, Carver dog, we can hold a dog hearing. The board can, and fortunately, many years ago, the board in its wisdom made me the hearing officer, but, and I would make a recommendation to the board, and the board can take sanction against, a homeowner who is violating the town's leash laws or other town's bylaws. But if it's, I don't have an answer with regard to what happens if that particular animal is a resident of another town. I can contact the Selectmen's office in Plimpton and see if we can try.
Could we hold it hostage? Fine them?
the dog officer has said that, but I'd just ask if you guys have a time in the next 2 weeks to drive down Brook Street, and I guarantee you everyone can come back next week with a list of 5 different dogs from their one trip down Brook Street that.
Do you know who owns those animals?
Yeah, and the dog officer knows who owns them as well.
Okay. We can make try contact the Plimpton Selectmen's office and see if they can be of some help too. But I know without a leash law, Plimpton not having a leash law does make it difficult. We can't take sanction against the dog who's owned in another community, as far as I'm aware. But I can contact town council.
We could take it and deliver it to the pound in Lakeville or something.
We could do that if we can get the
Right,
dogs. We can
right.
do that. Yes.
The dog officer's done that numerous times for the particular dogs in question, and it just doesn't seem to help. So.
Do you have chickens by any chance?
I do. I should be able to allow to keep my animals free range
Well,
on my
if the-
property to get fresh food and everything, but
Under
I
the-
can't do that anymore.
Under
I
the
gotta-
Plymouth County rules, if they get into your property and kill your dogs, you can contact. their
I don't want to
commissioners.
get into the specifics of
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
but I'm definitely well aware of
Get a
that.
hold of the Plymouth County Commissioners, they'll tell you what to do.
But it's an
Appreciate it.
$11 a day fee if the person from Plimpton's dog is caught in Carver and it's taken to the dog pound.
$1 a day, Dick?
No, $11 a day.
Geez, that doesn't even
Right.
pay for the gas to drive the
I
Lakeville.
just want to bring it to your attention
Week,
because I feel like
it's,
I'm not having
maybe we
much
should be
success.
charging more.
Yeah.
I will say this is the first time this issue has ever come up with out-of-town dogs.
This will be Mr. LaFawn's biggest project of his career in Carver. He's gonna work on that, Dan, dutifully before he
I
leaves
hear
here.
you. I hear you. Just talk to the dog officer, and she'll verify that the issue in North Carver with Plimpton dogs is just crazy. She's probably honestly locked up more Plimpton dogs than she has Carver
Carver,
dogs.
yeah,
So.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
All right. Mr. Forrester.
Good evening. Rod Forrester, 13 Lincoln Circle, Cranberry Village. I'm talking tonight feeling very distressed, mostly over the discussion that you folks had on the audit committee issue. And as a citizen of this town, I'm greatly troubled by it, and I would like, if not, obviously we didn't get the answer tonight, but I would like Selectman Maroney's questions answered. Who, what, where, and when, who did it? Why was it released early when it shouldn't have been? It troubles me greatly. And certainly, I agree with Selectman Maroney. I believe it's a political issue, and it shouldn't have been done. It belonged to you gentlemen, and you gentlemen only, to speak about it. That's my opinion, and I want to thank you for giving me the time this evening to say it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Forrester.
Yeah.
Mr. Fortier?
Hi, John Fortier, 76 Cranberry Road. I, as Mr. Forrester, is deeply troubled by the actions of the board tonight in response to this audit report. It is a public document. I did view it on the town's website, and I find that I'm thoroughly disgusted by the actions of the board. Once again, burying a report that is very critical of our Treasurer's office.
Nobody's burying any report, Mr. Fortier.
Well,
So,
you had the opportunity tonight to discuss the report, and you chose
again, you
not
have
to.
something of substance that you want to say beside accusing the board of
Well-
malfeasance?
I think that this report is very critical of the performance of our current treasurer.
We couldn't agree any less with you.
Okay, but it's just prior to
Speak for yourself.
an election, and I feel that the board has the opportunity, not opportunity, but I feel that the board should allow the citizens to know about the second report from an independent agency that has been critical of the job performance.
Once
of
we
our
have an
treasurer.
opportunity to vet the report, if you were listening to our earlier conversations, once we have an opportunity to vet the report ourselves.
Can you
okay?
tell me what the date of the report is?
Rick?
April 3rd, 2013.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Dan, John,
John.
sorry. You need to ask, when do we receive the report? I received the report, I believe it was on Thursday. And it's 3 books.
And I have mine tonight.
You probably
that I
know
picked up.
more about it than I do at this point.
Yeah. So we haven't had a chance to even review this, John.
Well, obviously, some have.
Well, obviously they have,
Yeah.
because it was out on the website before it was even given to us, okay? And we had a chance to look at it.
Well, it was on the agenda tonight. Could have discussed it. It was in your
You
packets.
discuss something you don't know.
When did you receive your packet?
Through
Tonight.
you, Mr. Chair, we couldn't discuss it
Wait a minute,
because...
ma'am. This
Sorry.
is not an inquisition, okay? Do you have something of substance that you want to add to the discussion tonight? This is not an inquisition, and you're not going to
Mr.
sit there and,
Chairman, I
you're not gonna
believe
sit
that
there
you
and challenge
have,
the board.
that your actions tonight are directly to protect a political ally of yours ahead of an election.
Thank you.
This
Okay.
report there's been numerous drafts of this report. I'm surprised that nobody is aware of the content of it. And I know that some people are aware of the content
I
of
think
it.
the people that sat in on the discussion were Mr. Franny and Mr. LaFond. The rest of us were not in on the discussion with the auditor, okay? And that's what,
Shame
that's
on you.
why the auditor is coming in here to elaborate on this, okay? And shame on us. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Next,
Thank you, John.
Mr. Belvin.
It's political burying report.
Mr. Fortier, sit down and be quiet, please. You had your opportunity.
All right, Robert Belbin, 26 Gate Street. The policy you just came out had a thing about politics, all right? And I hate to say this, but unfortunately, I've talked about myself out there that want to limit the,
We all talk about you, Bob.
it's all right, that's fine, about the CPA question that's on the ballot.
Right.
And to the point where there's signs out there for people to look at. This question that I have here for you, board members, is twofold. It brings up improprieties of this Community Preservation Committee and also the website.
Bob, you have some allegations to make. This is really
Nope.
not the place of the forum.
Nope, I'm just gonna, bear with me, please. The website that we have with the subscription service allows for people to subscribe and to receive information from boards and committees and commissions.
Okay.
If somebody puts on through their committee as a subscription service, they receive those documents through their email. There is a document on the website right now
Okay.
that is against the question on the ballot by the CPC. I don't know who put it on, so I'm not making allegations about any one person individually. What I am making is that this document that's on the website right now,
Can I have a copy of that when you're
you
done?
sure can. Right now, and I brought it up to Mr. LaFawn today, and I know he hasn't had a chance to look into it, and that's fine. But I did call the town clerk's office. I asked them who did this, and they don't know. They said it's probably someone from the committee. I'm not gonna say any names.
Okay.
All right, but the bottom line is, this is totally improper.
Leave a copy of that for us and Mr.
Through you,
LaFawn and I.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to be clear, it states out on the Community Preservation website that it's posted truths about CPA funding, and it was posted on April 23rd.
Which is
So-
today, and
All right.
under the open meeting law, under emergency circumstances, I think this is clearly an emergency. It was posted today. You had no idea that this was gonna come up as a discussion amongst you, so I think that this could be discussed by you guys, in a format, and be covered under the open meeting law, because this got put on the website, and it got sent to people, and I want you to look at it. How many people it got sent to?
Okay.
Because this is politics at its worst by our own government.
All right, thank you.
Could I make a comment?
Yes.
Those rules pertaining to use of town property to promote a political item are covered by the Office of Campaign Finance. Get a hold of them, they'll take care of it.
That's an excellent suggestion.
It is.
Office of Campaign Finance covers violation of
And they'll look right at that website if you give them the direction.
That's a very good point,
Yeah.
because I've just saw this right, well, Mr. Belvin showed it to me earlier. I'm not seeing any factual issues that meet my eye, but I can review it, but that's probably a good point,
Yeah.
Mr.
It's someone
Franny.
that's-
It's someone who's not politically involved in this, take a look at it.
Thank you, Ms. Belvin. Mrs. Forrester. Feeling okay?
Yeah, old. Damn old.
What are you gonna do when you catch up to me?
I don't know. Jane Forrester, Cranberry Village. I just had a thought for the young man with the farm. I feel very bad about this because when you put yourself into doing this type of a thing, agricultural and taking care of your animals that you're raising, the dog issue is a horrible issue. I did find out, this is a few years ago now, you actually can get, recover the monies lost if there are animals being killed. Doesn't matter if it's a chicken, a rabbit, or whatever. It did happen to me. I had 20-something rabbits killed, and I got reimbursed. It was 2 dogs that belonged to a neighbor. If he could even get pictures of these dogs coming on his property, and then his best bet is to either notify a lawyer or go, I'm sure even in the agricultural committee, I mean, somebody like that could help him because, you know, he has a right to keep his animals. He's doing the things that are legal, and yet the system isn't doing anything for this man. All he wants to do is have his little farm and stuff.
I
You know.
think that first, if you can identify the dogs that
Mhm.
caused the damage,
Yep.
then you have to go to the parties that own the dogs, if you
Yep.
identify them, and they have to pay. If there's no identification, it used to be a fund that the town used to pay for those,
Yep.
the damages.
Mhm.
So there is something to that.
Yeah, and he should know that he can recover
It's
this
also what
because
the
that's
county,
horrible.
that's why I said to go to the Plymouth County Commissioners.
Yep.
That's where you get the reimbursement from.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I think the reimbursement rates were from like the 1920s and the 1930s, so may only
Well,
get 50
But
cents.
The
he may
the
get
key
hurt
element
that
here is
way.
to stop this and put a
Right.
halt to it.
He may get heard this way, and it may start,
Yeah.
you know, a process for him, because it shouldn't happen to him. He's done nothing wrong.
We agree with you very much, Jane.
Thank you.
Thank you, honey. Anybody else? Citizens' participation. Come on up, Gail.
Gail Nowen, 15 Old Main Street. When do the selectmen receive their agenda for that Tuesday night?
Depends.
when is the latest you will receive that agenda for Tuesday night?
Usually
It depends.
Friday.
Well, it has to be posted 48 hours before Tuesday night, and I believe the Selectmen's office posts it before Friday at noon, because that's when we close.
Okay, Friday at noon, right?
Elaine, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to
That's the
speak for
latest,
you.
right? That's the latest.
Okay, so everybody who is a select person knows Friday at noon what's happening Tuesday night, correct?
I suppose,
On the agenda.
I suppose if you have
Through you,
a
Mr.
computer
Chair.
right at your hand there.
Through
yeah.
you, Mr. Chair.
ma'am.
I don't pull any of my selectmen information until Friday evening because I work during the day.
Okay,
So Friday evening.
Friday evening is reasonable.
Yeah.
So for somebody to come in tonight and say, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to read this. I just got this a half an hour before the meeting, or whatever kind of projected
What are you,
short
what are you
time
referring
span.
to, Mrs. Nolan?
I'm referring to the fact that you said, I just received this, I didn't have time to read it. You should have read it on Friday or Friday
This
night.
wasn't sent to us electronically.
That
Okay?
wasn't, but
No, it
when you got the agenda for Tuesday night, were you curious about what was on it so you could do your homework?
Yeah, but not within 3 days.
Yeah.
We've put things on hold for a lot, for more time.
If this is such a, if this is such a
Mrs. Nolan.
critical, if this, no, let me finish. Let me finish.
Mrs. Nolan, do you
Let
have
me
something to,
finish.
do you have
Yes,
something to
if
add to
this
the
is such a
discussion?
critical issue, a hot button issue, why didn't you look into it over the weekend?
Thank you.
Is this what,
Sir,
is
Mrs.
this
Nolan,
what,
you're all done.
is this what citizens
Any other
participation
citizens
is?
participation?
Shutting people down that you don't want to listen to?
When you want to come up here and you just want to attack the Board of Selectmen, I'm not going to
No, I'm asking,
Silence. Silence, please. We're all done. Thank you. Any further citizens' participation? Hearing none, we're going to move on to the town administrator notes. Mr. LaFawn.
Mr. Chairman, obviously, one issue is one we'll discuss in executive session regarding my status. The second thing I'd like to point out, and that you're aware of, but for everybody's benefit, that we were able to get a town accountant inked yesterday.
Yes.
And very, very good news.
That's
And
great
it was
news.
a
She's
candidate from the
awesome.
first search that we had hoped to get. What I will probably do, though, is just to ensure we don't have any issues because of the little bit of awkwardness where I'm the hiring authority, but the selectmen have to make accommodations, is at the next meeting, I'll have that on the agenda for you just to ratify that agreement, so when you see it, that's what it is. But that's obviously good news, and we're looking forward to her starting.
And I don't think we can announce who it is, because we don't know if she's given her notice. Do you know that?
I do not know, and
Yeah.
I expect that by the end of the week, I'll have
Okay,
a start
so
date.
we can't disclose who it is
No,
tonight.
and nor did I, Mr. Frady, so.
Okay.
And we did have some interviews with building commissioner candidates today, and I hope that by the end of the week, I have Mr. Hunter and Mr. Tinkham working with me, and we're hopeful that we have a good candidate that you're gonna like, so I'll keep you informed.
Good, we're making progress.
Leave it at that.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Unbelievable. The closer you get to the end, the less you have to say, right?
Hope that's just selectmen's meeting.
Selectmen notes. Ms. Ewens, would you like to kick it off?
Well, thank you. I hope people are watching this meeting at home. And I want you to know that it's also rebroadcast for those who don't have Comcast on YouTube. Thank you.
Very good.
And please vote. I should have said that first. This is a very important election. It's very, very important. Thank you.
Mr. Freeney.
Last Friday, when I was in my office, I received a referral from the Board of Selectmen's office. A young woman, Ansley Ryan, is going to be the first girl from Carver to attend Girls State, where they teach them about local government. So she asked me quite a few questions, and actually she asked me some that I couldn't give her the answers to. So I referred her to our resident expert, Mr. Pratt, and she assured me she knew him very well. She's the daughter of Dan and Dagmar Ryan. So I also told her that after she went there, because she raised a lot of good issues, that she would come back here and maybe make a presentation to us and maybe give us some new insight on how to run local government. So the town election's on April 27th. and the state Senate special elections on April 30th. I know Jeannie's still in the audience, so I don't know if you want to come up and make one more pitch for absentee ballots. Just to remind people.
Okay, the absentee ballots are available in the town clerk's office if you're going out of town or you're disabled. You can vote, last time to absentee vote is Friday, let me get the date now, April 26th
Sixth.
at noon. That's the last
That's for
time
the
to
local
that.
election. And is the absentee ballots available for the state election?
Oh, yes,
on
for
the
both
30th?
elections, I'm sorry, also for the state primary.
So,
Now, the state primary, the last day to absentee vote for that would be Monday,
okay.
which would be the 29th.
I thought so, but I didn't want to speak out of turn.
I know.
You know.
Good, thank you.
Okay?
The last thing is your taxes are due, the fourth quarter taxes are due May 1st. It's a Wednesday, right after the Senate election.
All set, Jack?
Yes.
Okay. Helen?
My turn. I would just like to possibly suggest, I know that there's a public hearing on May 9th with the ZBA for the appeal on Great Meadow, and I know that the venues, you know, when the venue, I would like to consider possibly changing it from this room to a larger spot, only because the past few meetings that were relative to this issue, there were a lot of people that had to stand in the hallway, so I don't know whether we want to consider holding that ZBA meeting maybe over at the school. So, something,
Isn't that up to the ZBA? I mean, I don't know, doesn't the ZBA schedule their meeting room?
And just to be clear, and Helen, I know you know this, but the appeal is actually by the applicant whose
Right.
building permit was rescinded or revoked by the building commissioner. This is not an appeal by individuals in the community, it's by the developer. Originally,
Understood.
it would have been the other way around, but just so people understand what the appeal is, so.
Understood.
And I will be happy to contact the chairman of the ZBA
Yeah.
and see if he wants to explore a larger venue.
yeah, I just have that
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, it'll be up to the ZBA, but I'm sure they might have the same concern.
And the next thing I just wanted to share with is that we just had a discussion about citizens' participation tonight, and, you know, how everything was going very well, and we made a motion to expand on it. But tonight, it's just given me the fear that it may not work in the future, because there are definitely different points of view in this town, but, you know, the ones that are coming up and are just reasonable, sharing their thoughts is one thing, but I feel the reason why a few of you were shut down is because you were conducting an inquisition, and that's what we had talked about earlier that we weren't going to do. And again, I just encourage, when you have personal issues or feelings, for me personally, come to my office hours. I encourage that, I encourage it all the time. But I just hope we are going to be able to continue the citizens' participation, because tonight there was yelling and a lot of insulting. And I know that people are very sensitive because of the election coming up. But we have to be civil. So may the best man win on Election Day, and God bless all the families that have gone through that horrible, horrific tragedy through the marathon, and I believe that the little boy was buried today, so God bless him and the rest of the victims. And that's it.
Thank you. Dick?
I do have feelings on that Boston Marathon bombing. We are part of Massachusetts, and I am very proud of the way that we responded to that whole thing and how horrendous it was. I want to say one positive thing. Saturday is supposed to be a beautiful day. It's election day, and hopefully everybody turns out to vote. And it's from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., not 8 a.m., 8 p.m. It's 6 p.m. 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Say that 5 times fast.
And then Tuesday, I'll have to say it different. No, well, anyway. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Ms. Maroney beat me to the punch a little bit, but the first thing I was going to do is remind everybody that citizens' participation, okay, residents can speak on agenda issues, all right? But personalities, politics, personal attacks, and pending litigation are not appropriate material, and it's not going to be tolerated. You conduct yourself civilly, or you're not entitled to that privilege. Simple as that. So, you want to be civil, you want to come up here, you have something constructive to offer to the town and the board, we're happy to listen to you. You want to criticize people or something, grab them, pull them aside afterwards and say, hey, why did you do that? You know? Have a personal discussion with them. Don't try and embarrass them on camera, you know, and use it for your personal platform to assassinate somebody's character, all right? So, if you follow those rules, we'll all get along. If you don't follow the rules, your time will be cut short at the mic. That's all there is to it. As with the rest of my colleagues, I am absolutely appalled at what transpired in Boston. But you know, we're going to come back stronger. Next year, I guarantee you, there'll be thousands of more runners at that. And there'll be hundreds of thousands of more spectators. So they can knock us down, but they can't keep us down because we're Americans. And I'm proud of that. Last but not least, I'd just like to say, yeah, I won't even talk about the election on Saturday. Everybody else has done that. So last but not least, please keep all of our servicemen and women in your thoughts and prayers. They're not all home safely yet. We still have a ways to go. But we need to bring them home and stop that mayhem on our troops and stuff over there, too. So God bless you. God bless the town of Carver. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. On that note, we're going to adjourn for executive session. And discuss contractual issues.
Yes, you might want to, under MGL Chapter 30A, subsection 2, discuss town administrators' contractual obligations.
You put that very well.
And
So
I think
moved.
Elaine will get it just
Elaine,
perfect.
So moved.
We need a hand vote on that.
Elaine, I'm recusing myself. Thank you.
I'm
you
recusing
get that,
myself too,
Elaine?
Elaine, so I won't be here either.
Elaine, I said so moved. So whatever he said.
It's a hand vote to,
Wake up, Helen. Helen,
Yes. Oh.
you're recusing yourself?
recuse myself from executive session.